Things felt, as they almost always did, a bit different on the docks. There were stalls and a tavern and almost the same people wandering around as in the rest of the city, but there was also a sense of constant impending danger, that at any moment a knife could find its mark or a crossbow bolt could end someone's breath. Whether they deserved it or not didn't matter. Life hung precariously by a thread here, cheaper than yesterday's catch rotting on the wharf. Seraphina made her way through the crowded market, always keeping her eyes open for an opportunity. When it came, her pretty smile and clever banter distracted the sellers just off the boats, and her nimble fingers danced across their stalls. By the time she shook her head and walked away from the disappointed merchant, she had a handful of coins, enough maybe for a night at the inn, but not enough to enjoy herself beforehand. Her dark brown eyes sparkled with amusement as she juggled the delicate art of thievery with the thrill of avoiding detection. With a practiced air, Seraphina wove through the bustling throng, her movements fluid and confident. She paused briefly, pretending to examine a stall offering exotic spices, all the while thinking how to relieve a distracted vendor of his purse. She stood for a moment in the flickering light of a torch, casting light and shadows across her face. A stray strand of her intentionally mysterious purple hair escaped from beneath her hood, fluttering gracefully behind her like a banner proclaiming her presence. As she continued her rounds, Seraphina's gaze swept across the market, taking in the sights and sounds of the vibrant gathering. Her heart quickened slightly as she caught sight of a group of 4 guardsmen, their faces stern and watchful. With a flicker of unease, she altered her course, steering clear of the potential danger zone. Out of the corner of her eye, she saw one of the guards, sadly one of the smarter ones she knew of, raise a finger and point at her. She sighed, knowing that she didn't have an easy night ahead of her. She tightened her belt around her cloak as she kept moving, her almost full coin purse a comfort next to her, and whispered, "All right then, let's get this over with." The chase was on. Seraphina's heart thumped in her chest as she attempted to melt into the crowd, the muffled boots of the guards loud in her ears. She knew the docks well, every escape route tugging at her chest like an eager friend, and the market's chaos played in her favor. She slipped between stalls and dodged shoppers, their surprised exclamations trailing after her. The smell of fish and salty air filled her nose as she pushed herself to stay ahead. Her eyes searched for a clear path, and she spotted one of the narrow alleyways leading away from the market's center. Without a moment's hesitation, she dashed into it, her boots skidding on the damp cobblestones. The alley was darker than the market, and she slid into the shadows, knowing it would buy her seconds at best. The sharp salt scent of the sea grew stronger. And of course, the guards' footsteps grew closer, and she knew there was no more time. 2 of them had managed to keep up. Of course, it would be the smart one, she sighed inwardly, their expressions grim with the determination to finally catch her in the act. Suddenly, as had always happened when she was in a situation like this, time seemed to slow down, and she was able to push back the panic and assess her situation. Her eyes swept the alley, searching for a way out, and she spotted a crude wooden ladder hammered into the side of the building leading to the rooftops. "All right," she muttered to herself. Out of time and out of options, she took a leap of faith and scurried up the wooden rungs, her nerve and natural ability making it look almost effortless. She reached the roof and didn't pause to catch her breath. Instead, she sprinted across the uneven tiles, the wind whipping her cloak around her. Something whistled past her head, and she realized what the rest of the guards were up to. She looked to the side and saw 2 of them reloading their crossbows. She was exposed. She was vulnerable. Instead of targeting, she was the target. She suddenly felt herself without a solution. She thought for a moment that she might give herself up. Then she thought she would be damned if she was going to give up. There was always a solution. A chimney? No, just no. Jump to the ground? Broken legs? No. A docked ship? No. Wait, a sail? A thought of a chance. She scrabbled at her side as another crossbow bolt whistled past her head. Not a lot of time to consider this. She had a dagger given to her by her father years ago, but now was not the time to be nostalgic. It was a long shot, she knew, stabbing a sail and ripping her way down. Yeah, no, not generally great, but she didn't have a choice, so she gave it a try. And it almost worked. She came to on the bow of the ship with a headache and possibly a broken nose. "Ugh," she said, and spat some blood. As she struggled to regain her bearings, her gaze fell on the chaotic scene unfolding on the dock. The commotion seemed to center around a group of 3 guardsmen, their faces twisted with frustration. She squinted, wincing as a wave of pain washed over her. The distance and her dazed state made it impossible to discern any specifics, but one thing was clear: the attention of her pursuers was momentarily diverted elsewhere. With a groan, she leveraged herself off the bow, testing her limbs gingerly. Though battered and bruised, she seemed to have avoided any crippling injuries. As she stumbled toward the relative safety of the ship's cabin, her mind began to race, plotting her next move. As she approached the door, a figure stood in front of her. Oh shit, it was the smart guard, and he held a crossbow in his hand. "I admire you, to some extent. You roam the city without ever getting caught. You steal and you mock us with your brazen—" He looked down from her hair to her trousers. "Lustiness." He seemed to find himself after a moment. "I'm going to capture you, and I'm going to own you, you thieving bitch." Seraphina considered her options. "Henderson, I've always liked you. We've had some nice talks down at the station. You seem like a really together guy." Henderson smiled indulgently. "That's not going to get you any." With all the wherewithal she had left, she snaked out a hand lightning quick and knocked the crossbow from his very weak grasp. The two stared at each other for a long moment. "But," she continued, pulling her small dagger and putting it to his neck, "I think I'm going to kill you now. I'm sorry, but this is how it ends sometimes." Please don't. We can—" "No, I'm sorry. It just has to be this way." She began to press the knife into his throat. A figure jumped down next to them, grabbed her hand with the dagger, and with the other used a thieves' sap to knock the guard to the ground senseless. The man looked up at her, seeing her astonished face. He was her age, about, with a beard and something approaching the opposite of a glint in his eye. He was sort of cute, but that was not the point. Seraphina glared at him. He said, "If we're going to work together, we're not doing killing, Seraphina." Her rage unspent, she snarled, "Who the hell are you?" He cocked a brow at her, then leaned over and checked the pulse of the guard. Satisfied, he said,
"I'm Arlo Nightshade, and we're partners."
Her stomach reached a new low. No, no, no. Nobody tells me who I can and cannot kill. She kicked at him, connecting with his stomach. He staggered back, seeming a bit surprised. He put up a hand, said, "Wait, we're—" She came at him with all her force. He was larger than her, but she was pissed and spoiling for a fight. She attacked him, and he avoided as much as he could and caught the rest on his armor. She came at him with everything she had, enraged that this man had the audacity to try to make her be what he wanted her to be. They danced like this for a while, her stabbing and slashing, enraged, him always on the defensive, not even drawing a weapon. This made her even angrier, either dodging her attacks or catching her with his armor. She knew she was letting her anger take over, that her attacks were clumsy and fueled by her perceived humiliation, and she wasn't surprised when he managed to knock her father's dagger from her hand and push her away. They stared at each other. As she stood in front of him, fists raised, her breath coming in ragged gasps, he tilted his head. "Hang on," he said, and before she could react, he reached out and turned her nose. She felt an explosion of pain, but after a few seconds, she found she could breathe again. She stood there for a moment, absolutely beside herself with rage. She wanted to punch somebody, but suddenly she couldn't bring herself to do it.
"I think you broke your nose,"
he said calmly. "I probably did," she answered angrily. Seraphina rubbed her sore nose, wincing as she felt the tender flesh, but it was quickly getting better. "You've got a point," she admitted, her voice slightly nasal. "So, thank you." And at that moment, the fight ended as her eyes streamed with tears. "You work for the Baron. I do too. I was sent to find you, Seraphina. I hear you're good." He was examining the impressive amount of damage she had done to his armor. "I'll need to get this repaired." After a moment, Seraphina nodded, reaching down, picking up and pocketing her knife. "You better be who you say you are," she said, sniffling defiantly. "I need your help. We've got work to do," Arlo said. "We're on the same side. Now let's get out of here and figure out how to do this job."